their turn subdued and reigned over the world. Those were rejected. God did not choose them for his people, but left them for many ages under gross heathenish darkness, to perish for lack of vision, and chose one only people, the posterity of Jacob, to be his own people, and to give them the means of grace. Psalm 147, verses 19 and 20. He sheweth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. This nation were a small, inconsiderable people in comparison with many other people. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 7. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. So neither was it for their righteousness, for they had no more of that than other people. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 6. Understand, therefore, that the Lord thy God giveth thee not this good land to possess it for thy righteousness, for thou art a stiff-necked people. God gives them to understand that it was from no other cause but his free electing love that he chose them to be his people. That reason is given why God loved them. It was because he loved them. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 8, which is as much as to say, it was agreeable to his sovereign pleasure to set his love upon you. God also showed his sovereignty in choosing that people, when other nations were rejected, who came of the same progenitors. Thus the children of Isaac were chosen, when the posterity of Ishmael and other sons of Abraham were rejected. So the children of Jacob were chosen, when the posterity of Esau were rejected. As the apostle observes in the 7th verse, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And again in verses 10, 11, 12, and 13. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, the children moreover, being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the promise of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth, it was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. The apostle has not respect merely to the election of the persons of Isaac and Jacob before Ishmael and Esau, but of their posterity. In the passage already quoted from Malachi, God has respect to the nations, which were the posterity of Esau and Jacob. Malachi chapter 1, verses 2 and 3. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith the Lord. Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. God showed his sovereignty when Christ came in rejecting the Jews and calling the Gentiles. God rejected that nation who were the children of Abraham according to the flesh, and had been his peculiar people for so many ages, and who alone possessed the one true God, and chose idolatrous heathen before them, and called them to be his people. When the Messiah came, who was born of their nation, and whom they so much expected, he rejected them. He came to his own, and his own received him not. John chapter 1, verse 11. When the glorious dispensation of the gospel came, God passed by the Jews, and called those who had been heathens to enjoy the privileges of it. They were broken off, that the Gentiles might be grafted on. Romans chapter 11, verse 17. She is now called beloved, that was not beloved, and more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife. Isaiah chapter 54, verse 1. The natural children of Abraham are rejected, and God raises up children to Abraham of stones. That nation, which was so honored of God, have now been for many ages rejected, and remain dispersed all over the world, a remarkable monument of divine vengeance. And now God greatly diminishes some Gentile nations from others, and all according to his sovereign pleasure. 2. God exercises his sovereignty in the advantages he bestows upon particular persons. All need salvation alike, and all are, naturally, alike undeserving of it, but he gives some vastly greater advantages for salvation than others. To some he assigns their place in pious and religious families, where they may be well instructed and educated, and have religious parents to dedicate them to God, and put up many prayers for them. God places some under a more powerful ministry than others, and in places where there are more of the outpourings of the Spirit of God. To some he gives much more of the strivings and the awakening influences of the Spirit than to others. It is according to his mere sovereign pleasure. 3. God exercises his sovereignty in sometimes bestowing salvation upon the low and mean, and denying it to the wise and great. Christ, in his sovereignty, passes by the gates of princes and nobles, and enters some cottage and dwells there, and has communion with its obscure inhabitants. God, in his sovereignty, withheld salvation from the rich man, who fared sumptuously every day, and bestowed it on poor Lazarus, who sat begging at his gate. God, in this way, pours contempt on princes and on all their glittering splendor. So God sometimes passes by wise men, men of great understanding, learned and great scholars, and bestows salvation on others of weak understanding, who only comprehend some of the plainer parts of Scripture and the fundamental principles of the Christian religion. Yea, there seem to be fewer great men called than others, and God, in ordering it thus, manifests his sovereignty. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 26, 27, and 28. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble, are called, but God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty, and base things of the world and things which are despised hath God chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are. 4. In bestowing salvation on some who have had few advantages. God sometimes will bless weak means for producing astonishing effects, when more excellent means are not succeeded. God sometimes will withhold salvation from those who are the children of very pious parents, and bestow it on others who have been brought up in wicked families. Thus we read of good Abijah in the family of Jeroboam, and of a godly Hezekiah, the son of wicked Ahaz, and of godly Josiah, the son of a wicked Ammon. But on the contrary, of a wicked Ammon and Absalom, the sons of holy David, and that vile Manasseh, the son of a good Hezekiah. Sometimes some who have had eminent means of grace are rejected and left to perish, and others, under far less advantages, are saved. Thus the scribes and Pharisees, who had so much light and knowledge of the Scriptures, were mostly rejected, and the poor ignorant publicans saved. The greater part of those among whom Christ was much conversant, and who heard him preach, and saw him work miracles from day to day, were left, and the woman of Samaria was taken, and many other Samaritans at the same time, who only heard Christ